Good evening. I am so excited to be with all of you tonight. Listen, I had this big fancy speech that I'm sure 15 government staffers wrote for me that was fantastic, but I'm probably not going to use it. Is that okay? Does that sound all right with you? I just had the opportunity to meet with Karol, and listen, he needs to be the next president of Poland. Do you understand me? There's 3 things that I've learned in my life, and I want to talk to you about them today. Does that sound fine? Number 1 is God. I want to talk to you about faith and what it means and what it brings you for the value system that you embrace and what it does for you during challenging times. The second thing I want to talk to you about is freedom. And I'm going to share with you a few of my own personal stories of how I've had to fight for freedom in my life and what it has meant for the people that I've had the opportunity to lead, but also how it has helped our president make America great again. The third thing that I want to talk to you about is how leadership has consequences. It matters who's in charge. I have watched over the years as socialists and people that are just like this mayor out of Warsaw, that is an absolute train wreck of a leader, have destroyed our countries because they have led by fear. They have used fear to control people, and they've used fear to promote an agenda that is not what liberty is about, that is not what freedom is about. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. This is my very first trip to Poland. I love it. I want to thank you for inviting me to come here and be at CPAC Poland. I want to thank my dear friend, Matt Schlapp, his beautiful, lovely family, and Mercy, all the work that they do. Would you give them a round of applause for me, too, for all that they've done? Now, I am here because of the generosity, the privilege, and the direction of our great President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. He has allowed me to be here with you today. Now, President Donald J. Trump was here 8 years ago with a message for Poland. I don't know if you remember what that message was. But that question that he asked all of you was, he said, there is a fundamental question. Does the West have the will to survive? Do we have the confidence in our values to meet our challenges head on? Does the West have the courage to respect our civilians, to make sure that we have strong borders, to preserve our civilizations, and to protect ourselves from those who would destroy us? Does the West have the will to survive? Well, listen, President Trump knows that the West has the will to survive because of you, because of Poland, because how you've met challenges head on and you've stood up for freedom, and you've gone through those difficult times and led by example. And he's incredibly proud of you and the partnership and the alliance that we have with the people of this great country. Poland has not just survived, you have led by example. When other weak European leaders have caved in and allowed migration in that's destroyed their civilizations, their public safety, that has not happened here in Poland. You have enforced your borders. You have protected who comes into your country, enforced your visa programs. You've done good work to make sure that this country has a different story, but you have much more to do. And you are threatened with a leader who is on the ballot who would take all of that protection away from you, who would open you up to much of the experiences that America had to live through under our last president, Joe Biden. Now, I know many of you sitting there today maybe don't know anything about me. You're wondering, who is this woman standing in front of us today? Well, I will tell you that I'm just a farmer. I'm a rancher. I'm a wife and a mother and a grandmother. And growing up, all I ever wanted to do was to work with my dad. My dad was a cowboy. Have you ever heard of a John Wayne? My dad was like John Wayne. He was like him. In fact, the way that he woke up us children in the morning was by yelling up the stairs, "Get up! More people die in bed than anywhere else." I didn't know if that was true or not, but we got up and we went to work. But he was very, very tough man, but he also taught us about freedom and liberty, and that the government doesn't give us our rights, that our rights come from God, and that they must be protected and defended, and that we're only one generation away from extinction, which is part of a quote that our great President Ronald Reagan once said to remind our people of how precious our country is. My prayer for all of you is that you don't forget how precious your country is, how it's worth fighting for every single day. Now, you have faced challenges. You fought off communism. During World War II, you fought off not just Germany, but also Russia, and you were free because of that. Because your ancestors and those who came before you met those challenges head on and believed that you and your children and your grandchildren deserved a better future. This last November, America made a choice. We had lived through 4 years of hell, of government control and corruption, and a president who was not transparent and allowed an invasion over our southern border. Thousands and thousands of dangerous criminals came into our country. Hundreds of known terrorists infiltrated our country and our communities. And our families were murdered and raped and victimized, arrested, released again by his administration to continue the fear agenda that he was trying to promote and to allow political power to be in his hands, but not in the people any longer. Now listen, in my state where I served, I ended up in government because of taxes. My dad was killed in an accident when he was just 49 years old. I was married, I was 22 years old and 8 months pregnant when my dad passed away in an accident suddenly, and I found out from the federal government that I owed taxes on 55% of everything we owned needed to be turned over to the federal government. If you can imagine farmers and ranchers who have land and cattle and machinery, but we didn't have any money in the bank, suddenly being told that 55% of everything that you owned needed to go to the federal government, it made me angry. So that's how I got involved in government and politics. I just started showing up. I just started going to meetings and telling my story about how that's not what America was about and that we needed to reform with the help of President Trump. Got elected as governor of the great state of South Dakota. I don't know if you've ever heard of Mount Rushmore, but we are the home of Mount Rushmore. But led my state during COVID pandemic. And when I led my state, we were the only state that never once shut down. We never once mandated anything. We didn't close a single business. We didn't close a single school. I told my people that I would trust them, that I would let them use personal responsibility to make the best decisions for them and for their families. And they did, and that we would get it through it together. I found that this small state in the middle of the great country, the United States of America, could lead. We didn't just lead on representing freedom and letting people exercise personal responsibility. We also led on many other issues. When other states were raising taxes, we were the only state that cut taxes. We also paid off all of our debts. We are a state that was debt-free and did not take on any encumbrances and burdens because of what was happening on the worldwide economic stage. We also went forward and were the first state to ban TikTok as controlled by China when it was, and we banned evil foreign governments and China from owning any farmland in our state. Every time we took a stand on these conservative principles, other states followed. Others followed the example that we had. They fought the fight after they knew and they saw us win. That is what we need Poland to do now. We need you to elect the right leader. You will be the leaders that will turn Europe back to conservative values. By who you elect as the leader of this country, you will open the eyes of the public, of everyone throughout the world, as to what the possibilities are when our two countries stand united for freedom, stand united for our people, and know that God gives people our rights, not some unelected or elected bureaucrat who just wants power. Now, since President Trump has been in office, he has given me the job of being his Department of Homeland Security Secretary. Most people don't necessarily know what my job is. They wonder what that is because the last Department of Homeland Security Secretary didn't show up for the job. But let me tell you what my responsibility is. My responsibility is to secure our homeland. It is everybody that lives in the United States, goes out of the United States, or comes in. Every product that is in our country that would go out of our country or come into our country. We are also the cybersecurity agency of our nation. Anything that is communicated, sold, or transpired on the internet is under my jurisdiction. It is our mission to secure the American homeland with honor and with integrity, and we do that every single day. And the reason that I asked President Trump for this job is because I knew it would be his #1 priority. We were, before President Trump was the president, being invaded over our southern border by dangerous criminals that wish to destroy our country. And the president's directive was that we should have a secure border, that we should know who comes into our country, and that Americans were the ones who deserved the rights and the freedoms our Constitution promised. And on day one, he told me to get the border closed. And today, encounters at our border are down 93% since he has been in office. We have deported hundreds of thousands of people that don't belong in the United States of America, that have broken our laws, that have violated the people that live in our communities. Our people are safer now because of President Trump's leadership. They have their homes back. They have their communities back. They can walk down their streets safely and take their kids to school, because now we know that the individuals that are in our country love our country and want to be a part of its future and a part of its history. Donald Trump is a strong leader for us, but you have an opportunity to have just as strong of a leader in Karol if you make him the leader of this country. You can be that shining city on a hill that the rest of Europe and the world will watch and know how strong you are, how free you are, because you've elected the right leader that will protect it and defend it and ensure that every individual is treated the same and has equal rights as afforded to them. Now, long before President Trump came into office, there was another Polish leader that gave a powerful speech that I want to reference, and it was Pope John Paul II. You know, on his first return back to this country, he came into Victory Square. If you remember, he gave that phenomenal speech. He gave that phenomenal speech to over 1 million Poles about what was important. And people expected him to give a political speech or something about government. Instead, this is what he said when he returned back to Poland. He said, "Lord, send forth your Spirit and renew the face of the earth." He brought us back to our faith. And what was remarkable about the entire exchange is that the Polish people started to chant, "We want God, we want God, we want God." We are at a point in our history where we will find out what our values are. We will find out what faith means, how much we trust each other, but also how much we're willing to fight for the freedom of the next generation that we are blessed to have in front of us today. If you elected a leader that will work with President Donald J. Trump, the Polish people will have an ally strong that will ensure that you will be able to fight off enemies that do not share your values. You will have strong borders and protect your communities and keep them safe and ensure that your citizens are respected every single day. You will continue to have a U.S. presence here. You will continue to have a U.S. presence here, a military presence, Fort Trump, that we can work together for the security of both of our nations. And you will have equipment that is American-made, that is high quality. When the founders of the United States of America were first starting our country, they knew they were starting the greatest experiment that had ever been undertaken. In fact, they were taking on the strongest, most mighty military force in the world. And they were just men and women who were picking up their personal muskets that they used to feed their families and shoot squirrels and deer with. And they took them to go and to fight for their right to exist, to have freedom. One of our founders, Benjamin Franklin, historically said, at that point in time, as they were signing the Declaration of Independence and going to war with that mighty military, he declared this to the men in the room that were doing this endeavor on their own. He said, "Surely we must all hang together, or most assuredly, we will all hang separately." We are at a point in history where we are fighting for democracy. We are fighting for our families and their right to live free. I have watched leaders in my lifetime choose to steal it through power, corruption, and fear, and I will no longer tolerate it. And let me tell you why. I could have come here today and given you a speech that you would have said that was very nice, wonderful, and then go home and have some of your good Polish vodka and have a wonderful evening and enjoy. And say, oh, she maybe would have even been better had we had the vodka ahead of her speech. But I'm going to be honest with you. We do not have time for nice words. We do not have time to dance around the dangers that threaten our societies. Leadership has consequences. The people who gave us the United States of America, when they stood around that Declaration of Independence and started our country, they pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to do that for us. And then they went to war with the biggest military that had ever existed. I got to tell you, our lives just aren't that hard. We've never been asked to do anything that difficult before. The very least you can do is when you leave here this evening, this weekend, for the next 3 days, you go out and talk to as many people as you can. Your country's future depends on it. Leadership has consequences. You need the right leader to lead this country. America wants to be your strongest ally to help protect your freedom and your prosperity and from the threats that endanger your families that live here. And you will be blessed. You will be blessed. We pray the hand of God will be on Poland. We pray that God will be with you, that the people will make wise choices, that your future will be bright, and you will be that shining city on a hill that will make all of Europe turn and recognize that freedom is why we exist. Freedom is what it's all about. Freedom is what we will have, and we will have it in just a matter of days. May God bless you, and may God continue to bless the people of Poland and the great United States of America. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.